welcome back. In part one, we did the exterior condition assessment of Larry's 1953 Cessna 170B. So let's get right into part two, where we pull some panels and talk some old tail draggers and doing a pre-buy. All right, Jughead, enough war stories. Let's pull open some panels. Let's see what's on the inside of this 170.
Yeah, I think we're gonna end up doing kind of abbreviated pre-buy, enough to, at least enough to the point where we can get to if we know we're gonna reject the airplane, you know?
Yeah.
Because the rest of the pre-buy is a whole report and estimates and.
Now, you know, we kind of looked at the engine, but you mentioned the oil analysis, which I thought was helpful, but what about compressions and scoping?
Compressions are important. I mean, the reason today we're not going to cover too much engine stuff is because engines are kind of right or wrong, you know, and then an airframe is like an art. It's, you know, somebody's rendition of what they think a 170 in this case should be, or how it's been modified and then maintained wrong and then modified to suit it, and this kind of cascade of consequences and solutions. And you know, we already had a nice first impression of this airplane, and that shine has dulled a little bit for me after looking at quite a bit of this stuff and seeing, you know, there was some damage that's been painted over. And
so what are you thinking as far as where you want to look? What panels do we take a look at? What's your main
concern?
concern?
Open up the extended baggage compartment. I want to look at the fuel selector. I want to look at the gearboxes. Okay. I'll show you some stuff on the belly that I didn't show you when we were outside, because we're still kind of trying to do a pre-flight. Sure. You know, and I just have a really critical pre-flight. When it was painted, and then they moved it, so there's a shadow there. This was here. Shadow. I'm not big into these beacons. I like the smaller ones, you know. Okay, now we're gonna get real critical. Oh, that's a cargo net. Okay. So let's take a look back here.
Yeah. Thank you.
You might want to be in my place.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay, so I would have taken this floor out. Okay, well, let me tell you the disclaimer. If it were me, I would take everything out, and every fastener and every rivet and all that, but that's an extreme, right? But I would have recommended this person take this floor out, and I don't know why there's cherry maxes in every one of these rivets here. I don't know why they're all cherry maxes. There's even a cherry max. There's a rivet that they drilled out and missed half of it, and then they put a cherry max in the hole anyway, so you'll get the camera on that. Okay. Just needs a little vacuum too. Let me take this coat off. It's hot. Okay. So this back here is primed nice. I wonder why they did like some epoxy priming on the top of this. It looks like, I don't know, I'll have to think about this one. What's this? Okay. Are you gonna put extended baggage in then, Larry?
If I can find one that allows the
battery?
Yeah.
I mean, the 185 ones do. It's dimensionally the same back here.
And paperwork is okay?
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know why they put this back here. I would have left it up there and put the Odyssey on. And it's not as even much for the battery, but the raw circuitry that's running under this floor right now with no protection is one of the real reasons I don't like it back here. You chafe that wire, you're starting fires. So I don't like it. It looks like they did a good job though. All these wires look new. You know, it was done, for putting the battery back here, it was done. It's actually kind of interesting. It's the firewall mounted battery. What paperwork did they have to put this back here?
It's an AFCON conversion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so they used the firewall mounted battery box and they just riveted a flange to it and they put it back here. Okay, well I need you, Larry, to run the trim for me.
Which way?
Forward. I don't know if you can. You could also just clamber in there if you want. Okay, it looks like you're good. Okay, run the trim. Is that the stop?
On the way.
Okay, other way. All the way, keep going. Okay, that good?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, elevators.
Pull.
Yeah, pull. Pull.
Okay.
Okay, down. Okay, back. Okay, forward. Okay, and then rudder. Rudder again. Again. Okay, elevator again. Okay, that's fine. Trim again. I'll have to open that. I'll have to open that and panel back there. Larry, that's fine for now on this.
Kyle, is it the fillets along the side of the vertical that you need pulled?
I need that round inspection panel on the right side pulled. This will be kind of a cool shot. You'll see a whole sky hole opening up.
That's a Jughead. Look at that.
I don't know. But I'm not gonna pretend.
You ever stuck your elbow into a giraffe's vagina? You seen that movie?
No.
Oh, never mind then. If you don't have the context,
Yes, yes.
then
Now, if you talked about artificially inseminated cows, I could have related.
it's supposed to be a zebra.
But
I got
giraffe vaginas, no.
zebra.
This took a weird turn.
It's a movie.
I was just waiting for your sweatshirt and elbow to get stuck in there. We were going to renegotiate some work prices.
How can you renegotiate beyond free, Jughead?
We were going to do other
I'm
work.
gonna pay you other
He's
work?
gonna buy you buy you pizza.
Okay, so I see a problem here.
Whopper.
You have a, I've never seen it, but the turnbuckle, one of the brass, was it brass? Is it brass? Looks like they're brass. One of these gold turnbuckles here on your elevator cable has a crack starting down it on the threads. So yeah, that's not good. If that lets go, you're dead. That's pretty easy fix though.
Bonanza's just had a bunch of ADs on their turnbuckles. Same reason.
And you got a crack in the elevator support right here, Steve. Don't freak out. Come on over.
Oh, okay.
You can feel
I
that.
can feel it. And there's a crack here.
And I can see that one.
And it's a crack.
Here's a crack here. So that's where. So
This here?
Jughead, drop those elevators here. Watch. Drop them. See it? Okay, just slam it down again.
Yeah.
So that's how that crack happens. That I like to put in like a number 10 screw with a washer and everything. With a crack there, you're gonna need to double it up. So Steve, look in here, and
Okay.
Jughead will do the elevators again. This is how this crack happens.
Let me see which is better. What am I looking at?
See that crack?
Yeah.
Okay, so when Jughead drops the elevators, it pries on that one
Oh
rib,
yeah.
and the skin just
Do it.
gives out.
Well, I don't want you to do it too much, but
Yep. Hold on, I'm trying to get that. There we go.
it's just ahead of that rivet?
Yeah,
Oh
this-
yeah.
yeah. And then this turnbuckle down here, I don't know if you can zoom in enough to see it.
There you go.
That's a cool shot. So I don't know how much you can zoom in, but it's that bottom turnbuckle on the left side, which is the back side of it. It's got a little hairline crack going. And it looks like they put in new cables, but used the old turnbuckles and ends.
This won't give us more access to it. We'll
No.
have bulkheads right there. Let's see. Let's send the biggest guy down the tail to film it.
Ouch. Oh, it just like tweaked my, like I got a back cramp on it. It's good. Okay, so that, I think we might be able to see it. Is this all it zooms?
Yeah.
Anyways, that lower turnbuckle's got a little hairline crack in the back of it. And they didn't take out the bell crank. They didn't even change the hardware in it. They didn't disassemble it at all. They just left the bell crank in there. They left the rod ends to it. They left the turnbuckle on it, and then they changed the cables. So, cables are good. I mean, come on, it's 70-year-old hardware. Like, it's not that big a deal to change it, you know. So I don't know why you wouldn't. I did do the trim pulley though, which it's like the hardest one to do. Jughead, run the elevator. More. Hold it there. Hey Jason, come here real quick. Blue tube, see how it's connected with the bell crank there?
Yep.
You can wiggle that back and forth. Tell me what you think of that bearing feels like.
The one that's
So
in the...
yeah, the blue tube that's
Yep.
actuating those, it's connected to that green thing,
Okay.
and that old bolt is where the bearing is. So feel that left and right, and tell me if you think that bearing's going.
I don't... Yeah, because that's the bell crank.
Yeah, but doesn't the bell crank feels like it's walking left and right?
Yeah, it's not supposed to be tippy like that. Because those are...
Because you just took those bearings out, or similar. So
Yeah, those are needle... Those are needles, so they're not supposed to have... They're not supposed to have
that
any
thing should
radial
just be
play.
laser straight, right?
Yep. There may be some axial play on the bolt itself,
Yeah, left and right,
but
smoothly,
not
right?
radial.
Yeah.
Not a spherical type movement.
Engineer.
Well, I'm impressed.
I'm just a mechanic. He knows all this stuff. Okay, all bad otherwise.
Yeah.
But that's an easy fix again.
I think I have I can show you what the bearing looks like actually.
All right, you're on.
The regular, that's the pivot bearing.
Okay.
So that's needle, and that shouldn't have any radial play in it. That should just be for rotation. And then the one at where the rod end attaches is a bigger bearing, but I can't feel any radial or spherical type movement allowed in that one either. So if there's play in there, then either the bores that the bolts are going through are worn, or the bearing itself is worn out, right?
And that attaches to that belt crank, or that's the...
Yeah, the pivot
That's the pivot.
point that we're feeling the play around is,
Okay.
is right about the axis here, and the rod end is attached up at this end here, right? And so we're feeling movement like this at this point, which
Okay.
would be in that bearing that it shouldn't exist.
Got it.
Yeah, it's the black mark right there.
That's the thing, the crack.
That one. Yeah.
Might take actually crawling down there to verify whether it's a crack or
It
just a
might be.
scratch.
It looks to me like a scratch.
It looks in this photo like a scratch, but when I look at it with my own eyes, it looks like a crack. Either way, you got stuff to do back there with that bearing.
It does seem scary. It seems a little scary first, but I like to just go slowly and then,
That's not supposed to be a bolt. Right there. See that?
Yeah.
That's supposed to be a pin like this one. And it's hitting
in just the right situation, like that, it's hitting that cover. Okay? That. The bolt.
Down here?
Nope, on the right.
Right here?
Nope, down.
Down. Oh, I see it. Right there.
So that's supposed to be a pin.
Okay, I see it here.
And since it's not, it's taking the interior with it when you do actuate the brakes.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, that's kind of a flag.
Wingtips.
What? That's kind of the problem with these, is sometimes you have to it right there.
Okay.
And then maybe, no, that's it. So there should just be 3.
Okay.
So, Jughead, you got 3/8? Can you get 3/8 out of the top drawer of my box? We're gonna go over here and take a look at one of my favorite spots. So that's one of my favorite spots. Cisco's over there. These rudder springs, I've had them snap before. He's got the lightweight rudder springs in there. That's not a seaplane, so of course he does. Larry, you're up there? Yeah. Push the brakes.
Push the brake.
Yeah. Okay, now pedals then. All the way, deflection. Keep going. That's okay. Again, forward, back, and one more time, forward, and back. Okay, that's good. Go ahead. So, the 170 is light and built lighter than the 180. I see a lot more problems in early 180s because they're like a 170 in construction, really light, but then they've got this heavy duty stuff like rudder springs and engines that are too heavy for the mounts, and trim stuff, and they figured it out in the later 180 and the 185. And the unfortunate thing is the early 180 for its lightness is like the best, but it's underbuilt to a fault. So,
is there a year that they kind of figured it out?
It's I don't know the year. It's the G model.
Okay.
And on.
Okay.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Yeah, the G model and on. They figured it out. It might be the F, but I think it's the G. Okay. Larry, can you do the yokes for me? Elevator pole. Should I take a GoPro here?
Sure. It's recording.
Okay. Elevator pull or push. Back. Okay. Rudder. Push. Okay. Back. Rudder again. Back. Okay. Here you go. Oh, that's looking ailerons. Back. And then rudder one more time. Okay. Good. So this it's dirty. It's, for a restoration, I'm not particularly pleased with how they just kind of went on the surface and didn't dig deeper. I like that they replaced all the cables, but when you replace all the cables and don't replace like the hardware that holds the cables, I mean, come on. It's been sitting there for 70 years. The rudder springs are starting to cut through the torque tubes a little bit, which actuate them, the spring that returns it. Mm-hmm. But we got a long way to go before they become a serious issue. if we pull them out of an airplane, we just address it, make it a round hole again. They're becoming slotted. Yeah, it's just kind of like, why would you do all this and not clean it up in here and stuff? I mean, you got to look at it when you annual it. So, I wonder what's going on here. Why that's wrinkly.
Bottom still is the bolt, just like yours, but you get really fast with it. I have a ratchet wrench that all it does is belong to my seat.
Okay, and how difficult is it to put it back on?
It takes about 3-4 minutes to take my lower seat out, and it probably takes about 8-10 minutes to put it in because they never line up totally straight.
We got a secret jump seat STC in the works.
Really?
It's called Versatilius Maximus. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
That's the project.
Okay, so we slide the seats all the way forward, and then it becomes a little bit of a wrestling match. And the trick is to be careful that you don't scratch windows or anything with these. So we're going to kind of just gently move the seat back. And one side will start to come up.
Don't scratch the window.
Yep. I'm trying real close.
Somebody already did.
Yeah. See, and this is what's nice when you don't have the seat back on, is you don't have to worry about that. Because what we're trying to do here is now get past, turned.
There it is.
There we go.
Okay. Then hold that forward for me.
Yep.
I don't want to scratch his. Jackman's got it. Right on, now it's a pickup truck.
And you take this bolt out,
Yeah.
and you get these quick release 3/8 inch pins. I'll send you an article on how to get them. And it's just got a little ring. So you can reach in there and just pull it. I'll show you. Let's go look at, oh, mine aren't here. Next time you're at my hangar, I'll show you mine. So if I was you, when you go home, well, like, do you want your rear seat in right now or take it out? Yeah, so when you go home, I wouldn't even put the rear seat, I wouldn't bolt it in. I'd just set it in the back.
Yeah.
Take it home.
That was the plan, yeah. There it is. These are nice. So take that out and then take the seat out.
You pulling both sides?
Yeah, I would like
That's
to.
what you want to do.
So the fronts will come off.
Oh, this thing is stopping.
Okay, so one design flaw on the 170 they fixed on the 180 is the arm the gear creates on the gearbox comes back and compresses the weakest point nearest to the hard point. So it tends to kick the gear back and indent this area here. And we've actually got quite a bit of indentation. And I'll show you on the 180 over here how they fixed this problem. But I like to put a doubler from about there back and pick this up. And what they've actually done is, I don't know why they took a hammer all the way back here, but somebody's banged this out. This was probably very oil canned, so at one point somebody banged this out. Yeah, I see doublers here a lot, and I think it's a really good thing. The best thing the 180 did is they took this little strap of the doorpost and they came back here with it, and then they came up through here with it. So it really picks up all this stringers and provides a nice transition of the strength. It doesn't have to be that strong back here. It's just here, and it's really all and nothing. And it really should be something between that to bleed that load out. So you can really see it here, where it's come back, you know. And even since it's been painted, it's been stressing, you know. So that's one thing to really look at. Inside, when we look inside here, you can see that stringer's bent internally. So, and it's probably the same on the other side too. But that's one big design flaw on the 170. So just take a doubler. I like take the strut out, go up here under the door hinge, come back down. I've come over here to the step before and come up, and it makes it really nice and thick when you get 64 thousandths there. I want to see it. I don't know why.
There's definitely some door fit issues.
There are definitely some door fit issues. I think
These are not 170 doors.
I don't.
And look at this.
Well, I know, I saw that.
Yeah.
I'm still wondering if they're 170 doors with the newer latch.
Newer latches.
Yeah,
The other thing
they are 170 doors. I'll tell you why.
Is how'd they get the 6-inch windows without the auxiliary stop?
Well, because they have this thing. So this is a 170 door. They put the latch in. If it wasn't a 170 door, it would have the holes for the other latch in it. For that flip latch, I think.
But all the other bubble windows one I've seen has that secondary down here.
Above the 2-inch, you're recommended to have it.
Oh, recommended.
I think
is
it's
the word?
recommended.
Okay.
Yeah, you're supposed to have 2. And I think it's mostly because you can. I think part of it is bad door seals, or because you can also flip that thing and the window just flies open.
Yeah.
At 150 miles an hour. I told Larry not to open these at all. Like, that's a big height. Yeah, so that stringer's bent a little bit. That fuel selector usually is on a table, and the selector has a knuckle in it.
Yeah.
And so I think, and here's the thing, the 185 has a fuel selector, and its location is here. The fuel selector itself, the location is like right in here. It's up above the floor.
Okay.
And it looks just like this. But I don't think that's the case here. I think this is just the knuckle going down, making a bend. There's not really, I don't think, a problem with it. I mean, it's similar to 185 is. So you can't be, too angry about it. But it's just very interesting, So I want to take a look. The more we look, the more we see, the more I want to find.
I want to look at that finger down there too in that gear well.
What finger?
You were talking about.
Oh yeah, it's the stringer. Okay.
Okay, and what don't you like on this one?
Well, I'm just saying that the 170 period, the engineering's flawed, and that stringer ends up taking all the load, and it can't.
Oh, so you didn't see one particularly wrong on this one?
Well, it's just got the damage that they all do have, right? It's got that indentation outside the gearbox. The gearbox tries to tweak back, and the cabin stays.
Gotcha.
You got like a 1/4 inch of metal going into 32 thousandths, Jughead.
Yeah,
And steel.
that little.
Yeah,
where it curves
that,
down.
that
Yeah.
curve isn't supposed to be. I'll show you the 180, and we've got the floor out of it. So you can see, if you zoom in here, and we look at this, maybe you have to use the GoPro, and then we look at the 180, you'll see the difference is that this is a steel angle in there. Where it meets it, the 170's all weird up in here, and the 180 is not, because it has that external 64 thousandths. It's bleeding out that stress.
Okay.
Larry, I'll get you the air vac before you go today.
What's that?
I'll get you the vacuum before you go.
Vacuum?
Yeah, I'll get you the air vac. You can suck some of this dirt out
Yeah.
and stuff. One thing I really like, I think is necessary on all of them, is the lifting eye bolts on the top of the airframe, and then shameless plug for ourselves, we make a handle that adapts into handles, or an adapter that adapts into handles. But you can pick those up, you can pick the airplane up and actually check the gear and the shims. Otherwise it's really hard to manage the airplane. And jacking up the airplane is usually accomplished on the gear that you're trying to shim, or it's on this weird like stilts kind of thing, and I'm not real keen on it. But yeah, so these shims in here, the way this gearbox, there's a bolt through the back of the gear. The rear gearbox back here is a bolt through it to retain the leg this way onto the airplane, and then these shims here keep the leg from bouncing up and down, jiggling in the slot that's larger than itself. Okay, so these are the shims there, and so you tighten those up to keep this guy from bouncing up and down, if that makes sense. You're prying it down. You've now made the gearbox too small for the gear, and it works well. But Larry, can you check for clearance and shake these wings? Like on the tip, like hard. Like you just landed on a beach. If you can break the airplane, great.
He'll fix it. I heard it.
Well, break it here. Okay. Okay, so they're looking pretty good. Take a look at the other side. Yeah. So it's looking pretty good when I can see the gear leg flexing, but not moving.
Good.
That's what we want to see. These stringers here are load-bearing stringers for the engine, and we've been finding a lot of them cracked lately, especially on 180s. But the 175 is prone to them as well. The 170 is not as bad for some reason. I just checked this out. It's got a doubler in it for some reason. I can't find out why. I can only see back to about here. Do you want to? Can you pull that interior panel? So we could look and see if there's doubler keeps going.
Is that the side of that tunnel?
Yeah. It's a rebuild. They rebuilt it. Every time. We rebuilt it means we did every cosmetic thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. We got that grip mat somewhere, Jason? Are you using it?
It's a chewed up piece, eh?
Yeah, something they kind of manufactured. It wasn't that great a job.
What's that?
Oh, that trim piece they decided to produce.
Right. Oh. Chuck, can you grab that from him?
Grab what?
Oh, here.
Oh,
Plug for Ian at Grip Mat. These things are,
great.
they're awesome. I just ordered the 3-pack.
I thought I heard Trent Palmer's plugging those
Was he?
recently. Yeah.
Trent's a sellout. Just kidding. I'm kidding. I like them. They're awesome. Yeah, so there's a doubler on that. There's quite a big doubler
wow.
on
Look
that.
at
So, yeah. I wonder why. What do you know?
Oh, well, this airplane was ground loop in 1976 or something like that.
I don't know why you didn't tell. Why didn't you tell me that in the beginning of this? That's fine. That's good that you probably didn't. Oh, can you pull this real quick too? I kind of like it. I don't see a problem with it. Maybe human factors might have an issue with it being angled, but the 185 was that way, so they can't have too big of a problem with it.
Yeah.
We did find our problem here. This is a doubler, and it's because this is cracked right there. Yeah, but it's got the doubler on it. It's just kind of a weak doubler. They could have done better at this. Come on. These are upside down, which is kind of funny. Maybe they had the wing upside down when they put the STOL kit on, and they put that in right side up, but
Okay.
this should be down,
Oh.
and this should be up. But the fix for that is I like to cut them rectangular and wider because you get more airflow.
Okay.
Everything here is correctable.
So it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, your biggest disappointment is that was claimed to be a overhauled or a
Well, it's not. It never claimed to be overhauled. They just said complete rebuild, which is
rebuild. Okay.
so complete restoration, which is this, which they didn't do really a bad job. It's just complete to the definition of the person who did it says it's complete, and therefore they're not wrong.
So it's
Whereas
a bit subjective.
it's subjective to their own interpretation. Jughead, all, and then our complete is actually a complete overhaul, which is a defined term with the FAA where it has to be disassembled and reassembled to a spec. This is just disassembly, cosmetic fixes, and then reassembled. What Jason's doing is the beginning of a complete overhaul. Every fastener is coming out of the airplane disassembled completely to a spec. As I said, this rebuild, as they called it, which is just still in the category of restoration or complete restoration or whatever, is such a subjective term. You just don't know what it is until you look at it. And I can tell you, they didn't do anything with the wings, they didn't do any of the flight controls. They basically just took the interior out of the airplane, painted it, replaced the cables, put the interior in or redid the interior, and did a nice panel, and I think they did the engine at that time. I don't have anything really bad to say about it. It's just an old airplane that's been damaged that, you know, it's not perfect by any means. It's airworthy. If this were an annual, I would have grounded it for a couple things before I signed it back off as airworthy. But, you know, it's an old airplane that needs a little maintenance, so nothing too bad here. Oh, I do have a big one actually. Here's one. These are non-structural. These have to be structural.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How do you know they're
These
non-structural?
are stainless little beautiful fasteners. So, Larry, did you get that? These are on the aileron screws. Okay. They got to be structural. AN 525. 10R probably 8.
Sportsman STOL, the only way to go on a Cessna wing.
Yeah. Who makes it?
Steen Aviation. Give Will a call up in Montana. He'll
Nice.
set you up. And then get it up here to get it installed. I think these guys probably install more of these STOL kits than anybody.
What's that made of, you know?
What's that?
What's that made of?
Foam. That's just a piece of foam block,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah. So what it is the way this works is this is a non-structural addition.
Okay.
You can see it right here. So this is what gets riveted to the front. Is this new piece of airfoil, and the foam blocks here is what's providing the strength to it. And so it's actually a non-structural rivet that you can use, and it increases. It increases. I forget the total 4 feet.
Yeah. I think it's 4 inches and 4 feet.
Okay, 4-inch cord and then 4 feet span
4 foot area.
4 feet
area. Okay,
area.
got it.
Is it 8 total or 4? I can't remember. This is the improvement on the 180 that they did for that. So instead of just dropping right there, it comes all the way back here, and it really helps a lot. You can see internally there's none of that damage
Sure.
like on the 170. So
Okay.
Victor XR IO 555 VII Black Edition 7 VII or whatever.
Going into a 180, huh?
Going into a 180, and it's going to have 185 extended wings on it. So we're going to have 88 gallons of fuel with extended wings, with a ski kit, an amphib kit, a G3X. The panel in that one's going to look like this one.
So this one's getting the Dynon panel. We designed this whole panel frame and everything. So we didn't raise the panel at all. We just bumped out the corners, but instead of the 2 Dynons, this one's gonna have, that one's gonna have G3Xs.
Okay, so 2. I think I'm doing a G3X.
I think he's only gonna do
Mine.
1 G3X, but he might change his mind.
Okay.
What it is, we're gonna make it 1 G3X and then like an iPad with the option for the second G3X.
Sure. Okay.
So I'll have like a cover plate with an iPad mount.
Yeah, nice.
But
Might be a good thing for me
we're
to do.
reinforcing the whole thing. Every skin's new. It's the full bushliner overhaul.
What GPS? Like a GNX
750 XI.
750 XI, of course. Cause why not?
Yep. And then we're about out of room, so we got to remote mount the transponder and the COM 2
Yeah.
and audio panel, and then the GFC 500, the autopilot, the 500 autopilot.
The 500, yeah. I'm gonna put the 507, which is experimental version of that in mine, and then the GNX was it 375, which is the GPS plus transponder, which is interesting.
Let me tell you about this jig too. So
Yeah, please.
we were just in here Christmas Eve and other things. We set this up originally. We didn't have the laser, and now we do. And their thing was take a straight edge, put a straight edge on that, and then have the straight edges hang over, right? So you see my finger here? So
Yep.
on the other side also have that, and then set the straight edge on that straight edge, and level all 4 points. You get what I'm saying? You'd have this
Yeah.
straight edge this way,
And then that way, yeah.
and then that way, and then that way, and you have this quad ball leveling thing. And we did pretty good. The problem is then you're supposed to take a piece of twine and stretch it. Yeah, see, there's a problem. And then go all the way over to here. And then you're supposed to take like a piece of warm pizza and set it on the string and then see how much it deflects over the the course of things and then blow on it or some ridiculously inaccurate way of doing. I mean, like, it's accurate in theory, and then you actually go to do it, and it's like, this has so much play in it. I just threw the pizza thing in there.
Must be lunchtime.
But it does say, it does say, take an old fuselage you just have laying around and stick it in. That'll help. Well, this fuselage is off to the left of center by 1.25 inches, and then it's also, it's not high. I thought it was high. It's low by 1/2 inch. So you come back here and look at it. This thing, let me back up a little bit. This scribe line right there, that silver one's Sharpie.
Okay.
But there actually is a physical scribe in the metal. That scribe line is completely center on not the center of the peg over there, but on the tops of them, because you're supposed to set the straight edge on. So on the top of the peg it's level within. We can't even measure the tolerance, how level this and those 4 points are over there. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
On that. So this is totally level.
Sure.
Then down here we've got another peg right in the middle of the fuselage.
Yep.
There's one on the forward gate as well. I'm sure you'll B-roll and cut that in. There's one on the forward gate, and you sightline those back to this. And this is sighted up the center of it. We actually did it both ways, from back and front, to make sure we were completely true on this tube. So I put these little drill marks in, but we're center on those. There's ones in the front we're center on. And then this has also been centered here with our drill marks.
Sure.
Because this is on slots. And so just to have the ability for the screw to turn, it's got a little bit of play in it. So these, center, perfect.
And it doesn't look like the airplane is centered.
And the airplane is not. The airplane's off by 1.25 inches this way, and then down 3/8 or 1/2 inch.
Any damage history?
No, this is factory for sure, and I can show you exactly where. Step around the right door. So we're documenting all this, and Jason's the one to show you. But he's got the math written out. He's an engineer, I'm not. But if you take 1.25 inches times, I think this is like 144 inches.
How much does it take to throw it off 1.25 inches? It takes like, I think 3/8 was actually more like a whole 2 inches. So it's less than 3/8 of an inch to throw it off by 1.25 inches over that distance. And right here, you can see center point of the aircraft here. Actually, first look at this side. Okay.
Okay.
And then, I want you to note 2 things. First, you can see this skin here. See it?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we got the center point of the aircraft. We can't see any. Then you got this coming out, kind of similar to this, and that's your down. This is the 1/8 inch, 3/16 down. But here's the thing. So that's our down angle. That's why we're low. Look at this rivet here and that skin underlap. Okay. Not much, a little bit. You can see it's starting to, we're starting to track with our negative angle here on our tail. Look at this one. It's like a 1/4 inch.
Yeah.
So that's a down angle and our left angle happening right here where this tail was put onto this cabin section. And both of this, all this math lines up. If you take this much, times it by that distance, you're going to be a 1/2 inch low.
Wow.
Take this much, times that distance, you're going to be a 1/2 inch.
So you found the manufacturing defect that caused the twist, or
This is horrible. We'd get,
Yeah.
you know how much trouble we'd get in if we did this?
Yeah.
Like we
Well, what year is this?
59.
Right. So
I mean, I feel like they, I don't know what it was.
not to
but-
make excuses for them, but slide rules and I don't know.
Well, it's
Paperweights.
somebody did the jig setup.
Sure.
What my thought is all of FAJ is a floor assembly jig. So all the aircraft built in FAJ such and such between this time and the time they moved it and recalibrated it, because every time if we were to move this even a foot, we'd have to recalibrate the whole thing.
Sure.
It's a pain in the butt. But there's probably, I would not, there's no way this is the only airplane that was built like this.
Yeah.
And then that, because what they probably did is exactly what the Cessna manual says, is take a fuselage, shove it in there, set the jig up around it. Well, we've centered all this out. We've ran our laser sight here. We put a point here too. So this is one of our laser points.
Okay.
Trammel points, laser points. We have lasers now. We went to the center of the spar. We went to this point. We went to this point. Guess where the center of the firewall is?
Not that point.
It's over here. So this up to this is a split. This isn't an official reference point because it's just a split
Okay.
in this skin thing here.
Sure.
But this, what it is the firewall completely in itself is perfect, except for the 4 points of the engine mount. It's perfect except it's moved over by 1/2 inch, 3/8.
Oh
Look at
yeah.
this.
Wow.
So this is the engine attach bolt. That's
Like a crescent moon there.
Yeah, so you can imagine our frustration trying to get this in.
Sure.
We got it in, the tail was way off over there, and then we get it in this way, and now it's straight. The spars are straight, the strut fittings are straight. So our cabin section's about all that's good.
So, how are you gonna straighten it out?
It's all coming apart anyway.
Yeah, I suppose.
We were just trying to calibrate where this airplane is right now, right? This is a factory,
Yeah. Wow.
one of the factory jigs. We were just trying to purely calibrate. Where is this airplane now? What are we starting with versus what are we, kind of a control? Like how fast was it going before? We have all this data from its previous life. And now it's going to fly straight. What you'd have then is you'd have probably rig in some rudder input to kick the tail back over the way it should be. And then you're going to have to counteract that with a roll input. Otherwise you're going to be flying it like this with a little yaw.
Well, with this bigger than designed engine, a 555, whatever,
Victor,
XYZ, yeah.
Victor 7.
But are you gonna add in like 2 degrees right, 2 degrees down to counter, to add in some yaw?
So actually we're just, so it's a standard 550 conversion.
Okay.
And then you're setting the 555 Victor XR Black Edition 7. It's a cool name. It sounds like an old English like Queen Victoria type of realm of the first
yeah,
night.
the Roman numerals.
7. Yeah, exactly. It just I don't know. It sounds cool. I can't ever say the name. Engine's this long.
It's a 550E. It's a 550E
Okay.
with bigger cylinders. The picture on their website is actually 6 of the cylinders, and they lit up the bellies of them to make it look like the tail end of a rocket booster.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
It's badass. And the owner goes, you know, I'm talking myself into this once in a lifetime indulgence. Let's do the, you know, I tried to have an opinion. I mean, I really was hoping he would, but I tried to just say, like, your airplane, do what you want. He said, what would you do? I said, well, I'd do it. Why not? So, yeah, whatever airplanes did with their conversion is going to be what goes on here. Like the seaplane's west engine mount, just like that one.
Okay. Speaking of this one, this is the 520, you said?
That's a P-Punk 470-50 built out of a 520 case.
Whoa. P-Punk?
P-Punk is, they take a 470, put 520 jugs on it. So it's a lightweight 520.
Okay, nice.
Or you can just use a normal 520 and put a carburetor on it. Is essentially what it is. It's either an IO 520 that's carbureted, or it's an O 470 with 520 jugs. So kind of 6-1, half dozen the other, except the 520 case is heavier, which was the whole point of the P-Punk, was to get away from that. But it's also more robust. And this guy really wants the heavier case, because when he flew up here for a window change, and it turned into this, and his case was cracked. The cam had rust. 4 out of the 6 cylinders, no, I think it was 5 out of 6 cylinders had something wrong with it, and like one of the cylinders was like airworthy, like you'd actually fly it. I think it was low or something. I can't remember at this point, but yeah. So he opted for the P-Punk. It's a lean, mean conversion with a carburetor, and some guys like carburetor. I prefer fuel injection and electronic ignition. A lot of guys like their carburetors and their mags, and that's fine. But we also took that in consideration. We built our panel, and we designed the panel for these older aircraft that have all these new options available. As we designed it to be more universal. If you want electronic mags ever, fine, and here it is. You know, it's done.
Is this something you guys do on all your?
That is a kind of a special request done by this guy. He wanted this firewall engine turned. And what's cool about it, I think the coolest feature of it is there's no way you can do this with the firewall installed in the aircraft.
Right.
You have to do it pre-assembly. You have to do it before you put rivets in it. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a really ugly, inconsistent pattern. And this is all done by hand, and it's one of the biggest pains in the butt to do ever.
Pretty though.
Yeah. Steven here is building harnesses for our next gen panels.
Oh, great.
This is, right now, he'll show you, but this is the mounting plate for all the harness plugs. So that goes behind the left glove box in these panel frames here. It goes behind the left glove box, and then it sticks up above where that L-shaped hole is.
Sure, yeah.
So you can actually reach in and plug the switch plate in, and it's just about that simple to get these installed. So this will be back here. It's got a nice big pigtail that's going to receive the panel. The switch plate itself has a pigtail as well.
Okay.
That way you can't mess up the wiring. You don't leave anything to chance.
That's great.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
I've been doing a lot of avionics planning for my home built, and it's very intimidating. So kudos on
G3X.
G3X, GNX 375. It's got the transponder.
It's even harder to design something that's universal to accept any of them. So we try to.
Right.
Eventually we can't.
So I don't know if that's something you wanted to go into on the video, but Kyle and I had an interesting phone conversation about STCs and avionics that are approved, one-offs, but then they become this Frankenstein that I kind of gave the analogy of the F-15 over years and years of getting upgrading radios, LRUs, radars, screens, etc., and no thought was put into human factors. And so while the FAA may approve, or TSO, I say STC, as TSO, a product to go into a plane, but they didn't necessarily have that in mind of 15 years later of hodgepodging these Frankenstein avionics. So is that a challenge that you have?
It is. Kind of what the thing is too is What's funny is if you have let's say you have a mechanic and he's been maintaining this airplane for 20 years. This is kind of new stuff that I found out a couple weeks ago because they're starting to get cranky.
They being
I say that
FAA.
as endearingly as possible because we have a really good FSDO here, really good inspectors. They're themselves not cranky. Regulation-wise is what I'm kind of defining as cranky because you've got these avionics and you had a 6-pack in this plane and that screen goes where that 6-pack went, and that screen now is supposed to have redundancy. You're supposed to have radios. It doesn't have it, the stuff that was there. Maybe there was a fuel gauge there that it blanks out. Well, now the screen has the fuel gauges, but you're gonna have to move well, okay, now you don't have a switch that controlled things that were there, so we're going to remove that switch. Well, to consolidate the panel and make it reasonable, we're going to take all these switches and we're going to move them over. Well, now we have extra room, so we're going to put another gauge there. We're going to put an autopilot header here. Well, now we don't have room for our amphib pump that we just might as well install at the same time, so we're going to put it up here. Like, and all that kind of stuff is where we came in and designed a universal panel for these Cessnas, 180, 172, 182, and 180. Well, 180, 182, and 185 of that vintage, and then the 172, and then also the wide 182. We did an approach that just took all those variables and eliminated them by having a standard panel frame base control panel, and then a panel frame that had enough clearance in it to do whatever you really want, and then keep it in the same specific category to where you had a radius panel, and that PFD that you want to put in place of the 6-pack is now way off center like this, and so then your radios are way off center like this, and then anything that was over there is now gonna just, I don't know, it becomes a mess. And we're really glad we did it because right after we finished our first panel here, the FAA goes, we were tolerating the people kind of when an airplane just evolved over the course of 20 years and eventually it's a completely different panel.
But this full overhaul.
Well, the full overhaul that you guys are doing, maybe we're the solution that created the cause, but there was already kind of a cause, and then we just came out with a good answer for it. They're like, yeah, you guys need to have a flight manual supplement. Luckily, we like your panel better than anything that Cessna did because that was all over the place and scattered.
Sure.
So that's pretty simple. But the problem that's going to happen, and not our fault at all, is that people who just say, I'm going to build this beautiful white panel. It's got all these gauges moved all over the place because I like it better. The FAA is going to start going, you need a flight manual supplement, you need a flight manual supplement, you need a flight manual supplement. And it's not, it's not going to be kind to a lot of people. I mean, a lot of avionics shops do flight manual supplements. They're not like the biggest deal to do. I'm just kind of concerned for when 5,000 people need a flight manual supplement all at the same time. And it's going to be really, I don't know if it's going to be now, in 1 year, in 10 years, but it's really going to be a pain in the butt for these guys who now can't really fly their airplane without a piece of paper that tells them how to use the airplane that they designed the mod to. So, I mean, well, what it is it's just a good thing for us and other people that we're doing these panels. So we're excited. And this is our 172 panel. And 172s had 4 different versions of flaps. They had manual flaps, they had 30 and 40 degrees of flaps, and they had just this lever switch that was a momentary. And so we designed the panel frame as consistent as we could, and then we have these blanking plates. This is a 40, and these plates go in here, and if they had manual flaps, this would be blank. If they had 30 degrees of flaps, this would be similar, but not quite as far down for the 40. If they had just the switch, it'd just be a little round hole there.
Kind of modular. It's standardized, but it's modular.
The frame's standardized, and a lot of it circles around approvals. That way we can say, this is approved. If you have a 172B model, which is the first panel, the first airframe this will fit in, then you just don't have flaps here. And we're going to call that out. Your circuit breakers are always going to be there. Your throttle is always going to be here. Your mixture is always going to be, well, there. Your prop's going to be there if you have one. Alternate static is a good idea, so we're lumping that in. If you didn't have one already, it's kind of a gray area whether you're supposed to have it or not, because you're supposed to have it if you're IFR, but if you didn't already have it, now you're changing the pitot-static system, but Garmin says they want it. You see what I'm saying? So, alternate static's there, circuit breakers are always there. We got 2 glove boxes, we got cabin air and cabin heat now here. And the cool thing is, like,
if we ever got to the point where there's a lot of these panels out in the world, a 172 and a 182 and a 185 would all be exactly the same interface. So you have your switch panel in nearly the same location on all of them. The PFDs will always be centered, the radios will be always completely centered, and all these controls, if you got into 185, the throttle's here. If you got into 172, the throttle's still there, generally. So it's good.
Yeah.
Oh, and we built this too. So this is our, it's being prototyped right now. This is the last prototype, and then we're gonna go into production with it. But this is the final power distribution unit, or MP Master Power Unit, PDU, Power Distribution Unit. Anyway, so this is everything on the firewall. This is all that wiring that's running all over the place. This is how to sum that up for our panel specifically into a clean little unit that's not prone to a bunch of grease and moisture and water and nastiness. And then we have our regulator here. So I mean, the whole kind of goal is get all the runs as short as possible, limit shorts, because a real big problem with this stuff now too is if you have a short, you lose all your glass. It's gone. Ground power unit solenoid, starter solenoid, and we got our master solenoid. These are all connected on one bus. This bus bar comes over, splits the power distribution to bus 1 and bus 2 for PFDs the way a new Cessna does. And then we have our shunt, and then we have our exit wires coming out. So these are independent circuits. The most essential items, like your PFD, they cross feed. So if either of these circuits fails, either one can fail and you'll still get power to your PFD. If both of them fail, you won't have power to anything. But if one fails, you might lose your strobes. If the other fails, you might lose your flaps. This way you're gonna keep the essential equipment like your starter, your PFD, your backup EFIS, and then we've got fuses to protect the sense wires for like the shunt, because those are, even though they're just sense wires, they're still carrying high current. They could shut the system down if they trip. So we've got a sacrificial fuse in it, which is old school, but it's reliable. Cessna does the same thing. Well, it's reliable and it really shouldn't trip. I mean, if it trips, you just got to open this thing up and say, oh, okay. And really, you should be, you know, why is it tripping? Right. And then we didn't have enough space in these models to internally mount the regulator. The other thing we consider a lot is variables with other people, right? So we didn't want to commit somebody to, let's say, the plane power alternator regulator by putting it in here and building the whole box around it. So I would like it to be more integrated, but we voted not to do that for this reason. This was just originally on the firewall. Putting it here is still just as neat. So we didn't drill any holes in this so that they can use this regulator, some other regulator they prefer. And the other thought is too, we might sell these master power units separately to home builders or something. We thought, yeah, we can sell this to anybody as part of our panel kit order, just experimental people.
Well, I'm gonna sign off here, you guys. Hey,
Okay.
It was awesome to meet you guys. I really respect the work that you do. I learned a lot, and I think the biggest takeaway for me is a pre-buy, especially with folks that know Cessna. If I were gonna be buying a Cessna, that'd be kind of a no-brainer. We found quite a lot of stuff on a really nice airplane. So I don't know a lot about Cessnas. I learned a lot. I really appreciate you guys having me out here, and we're gonna probably get together in the future. I want to see this rotisserie put together so they're not juggling wings. But anyway, it's been awesome. We're gonna say goodbye to Jughead and Larry from Backcountry 182. Jughead, what's your channel? Jughead Counsell. All right. So unfortunately, I had to run and catch a flight, but I hope you learned a thing or two if you're in a pinch and need to assess the plane yourself. I know I did. Thanks again to Kyle, and I'll be helping him get Bushliner's YouTube channel going. Look forward to that. And I look forward to building and flying my Rand's tail dragger up to Northern Washington to do some sandbarring with Larry, Jughead, and Kyle. Until next time, you're cleared direct.